Welcome to the show where we run you through all the NFL news you need to know about. This show uploads each and every single Thursday, so if you like that, then go check out the channel. This first news story is very interesting. Jadeveon Clowney won't get extension from Texans, will play 2019 under franchise tag. This news comes from Pro Football Rumors. Jadeveon Clowney won't be getting an extension from the Texans. The two sides aren't going to get a deal done before the July 15th deadline. That means that Clowney, the first overall pick back in 2014, will play the 2019 season under the franchise tag. The deadline for franchise players to get a new deal is less than a week, and we hadn't heard much progress between the two sides, so this isn't shocking. While pushing for a new deal, Clowney has been staying away from the team, and he didn't attend team's mandatory minicamp last month. Wilson reports that Clowney is, quote, not expected to miss any games, but likely to miss at least a major portion of camp. Clowney clearly isn't too happy to be playing under the tag, and it sounds like he won't be showing up until the last minute. A lot of stuff going down in Houston, Texans land, if you think about it. I mean, they have the whole GM situation. The Patriots filed that complaint of tampering. There's a whole lot going down there in Houston, Texas. But they still have one of the best teams in the AFC South. The article states that he will not miss any games, any regular season games, which is great because we saw what happened with Le'Veon Bell. He literally sat out the entire season, so at least it's not that dire. And it's kind of a weird mood if you're Clowney. If you want to get an extension, maybe you want to throw that out there, that, hey man, I will sit the season. I know fans wouldn't like it that much, but I mean, coming from, if you're from his perspective, that might be the best move. So it's really interesting that he's like, yeah, I'm going to play the games. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the league. He's one of the if not the best. I mean, he's definitely top 3, like all around defensive line players. Like, he's a great run defender. He's a smart player. He's obviously a good pass rusher. With him and Clowney on the defensive line, and by the way, I think a lot of people don't talk about J.J. Watt, but I think J.J. Watt's coming off like a 16-sack season or something like that. Maybe it was a little bit less, but regardless, he's back. You know, he's dealt with those back injuries. That defensive line is really good, and Whitney Merciless also had a pretty good season last year. If I'm not mistaken, he played a lot more off-ball in terms of he was more or less not the outside pass rusher that he's been very good at in the past when J.J. had went down. He, rushing the passer he's been very, very good at. So Whitney had a great year last year as well. So this defense is actually pretty good. It's not, especially up front. It's a pretty good group of defenders with Justin Reed there. They stole in the draft a couple years ago. They got a good group down there in Houston. Not to mention their offense with Hop. Hopefully that offensive line plays better. And then you got Deshaun Watson, is one of the best young players in the league. So I think they'll be fine without Clowney in camp, is my opinion on it. But it is interesting news that he is still going to play regular season. So if you're a Texans fan, really this news, I mean, if you have a strong opinion on whether or not a player should be at training camp or not, the good thing about Clowney is he's been there for so dang long. I mean, Bill O'Brien is still the head coach, so there's a familiarity there. If this was like a new staff, like an entirely new staff, then I would be concerned about it if I was a fan. But since it's not, I'm not really. He's a veteran player. He's a consistent player. He's obviously dealt with a lot of injuries in his past, but he is consistent when he plays, so I'm not really too concerned about this if I'm a Texans fan. So yeah, there you go. And to reiterate, he will not play under the franchise tag through 2019, but he will play regular season games, but he's not going to go to training camp. Very confusing headline right there. But that's basically the rundown. This next news story also comes from Pro Football Rumors. Raiders sign running back Josh Jacobs. It's a done deal. The Raiders and running back Josh Jacobs have agreed to terms, according to Michael of the Review Journal. Per the terms of his slot as the this 24th overall pick, it'll be a 4-year, $11 million deal for the Alabama product. And because Jacobs is a first-round pick, the Raiders will hold a team option on a 5th season. The additional year is guaranteed for injury only, giving Oakland flexibility in the event that things do not work out. Recently, we heard rumblings of a major stall in negotiations between the Raiders and Josh Jacobs. There was reportedly concern that the running back would not show for training camp on July 23rd, but the two sides apparently worked out a disagreement over the payment schedule of his signing bonus. It's a fully guaranteed deal, according to NFL.com's Tom Pelissero, meaning that the top 24 picks in this year's draft will have completely guaranteed packs. That's an uptick from 2018 when the top 22 got full guarantees. So it's a fully guaranteed contract, which is very interesting, and it's $11 million. That's pretty good. That was a pretty good little get for Josh Jacobs right there. I love Josh Jacobs. I think he was one of the steals of the draft. This Raiders offense, I think, is going to be really fun to watch. If you look at their standings last year, they weren't that bad, even though they went through a lot of injuries on the offensive line. People were in and out of the lineup. The pass protection wasn't all that great. Their passing offense was a lot better than their record showed, and their offense all around, I felt like, was better. They did lose Clecchio Simile. They did add Trent Brown. It's going to be interesting to see how that offensive line looks without Clecchio, because he's one of the better interior players in the league. And when they were running power run, when they were running that down in Oakland, that offense was very, very good. Of course, that was back when they had Crabtree and Coop. Now they have AB, I'm forgetting. They've got a lot very, very talented. I'm forgetting DeAndre. Who's the running back? DeAndre Washington, I think is his name. I might be getting his name right. He's actually really underrated. So their offense is actually pretty good, and obviously Gruden's down there coaching. And I like him a lot. He's one of my favorite coaches of all time. He's very smart. He's been around the league a lot. People don't really give my dude credit because he's been around a very long time. You know, he reaches all back to Brett Favre when he got his first start. He reaches all the way. He coached Randall Cunningham as their offensive coordinator with Philadelphia. A lot of people don't know that. So he's been around a very, very, very long time. We're running through these news stories. Only one player, this next news story, only one player taken in the supplemental draft. The NFL supplemental draft on Wednesday concluded with only one player drafted, after the Cardinals chose Washington State's Jalen Thompson in the 5th round. No other players were taken in the remaining 2 rounds. The players were not selected in the players that were not selected in the supplemental draft are now free to sign with any club. Those are DB Bryant Perry, wide receiver Marcus Smith, tight end Clarington out of GUCO, and Shaheem Cullen out of Syracuse. So those are the players that are still left. I feel like that may have been on purpose. The supplemental draft, usually I don't pay a ton of attention to. I mean, obviously Josh Gordon, I think, is the biggest name to come out of the supplemental draft in a very, very long time. So it's you sometimes do get really good players out of this, but I could see NFL teams just waiting to get the pick of the litter and try to scout or try to sign these players instead of drafting them. That's interesting. Only one player taken. I think that player was Jalen. Oh yeah, it was Jalen Thompson. Which a lot of people he took a lot of visits. I think he took like 2. So he was a wanted player too. He was a talented guy. This next news story is not really that big. Jaguars to sign wide receiver Marcus Smith. Marcus Smith went unselected in Wednesday's supplemental draft, but he does have an NFL deal. The former West Virginia wide receiver has agreed to sign with the Jaguars, according to NFL.com's Tom Pelissero on Twitter. Sims was viewed as the second best talent in this year's second chance draft behind Washington State's Jalen Thompson, who was the only player taken in the 5th round when the Cardinals called his name. Some off-the-field issues interrupted his run in West Virginia, but Sims flashed some potential over the last 2 seasons. Between 2017 and 2018, Sims reeled in 81 passes for 1,362 yards and 7 touchdowns. He also contributed as a kickoff and punt returner, which should help his cause he tries to stick at the pro level. He will be joining a wide receiver core that includes Keelan Cole, Chris Conley, Marquise Lee, D.D. Westbrook, and Terrell Pryor. Again, that comes from Pro Football Rumors. That news story. I think one of the weaknesses of the Jaguars team is they're kind of one-dimensional. I feel like they're just going to run the ball and play really good defense and try not to turn the ball over. Their skill positions, I mean, unless like DJ Chark comes out, like, he's very talented, and if he lives up to his ceiling where he could be, then that offense could be pretty good because Marquise Lee is a great 2. Let me read the rest of the depth chart so I'm not forgetting him. D.D. Westbrook's a great deep threat. Terrell Pryor is, I feel like, non-existent. Chris Conley is another big-bodied receiver. He's a 2, too. He's not a number 1, but he's a good player. They just don't have a number 1 receiver. Keelan Cole has shown flashes. He's a great 50-50 guy. I mean, obviously he had the highlight reel catch against New England where he kind of Odell'd it. He's a solid player. I think he was undrafted out of Kentucky school. Maybe it was Western Kentucky. I'm not sure. But I think one of the weaknesses of this team is the receiver core. Other than that, I mean, the offensive line is solid. The running backs are solid, obviously. Nick Foles coming there to really solidify the quarterback position so they don't, they hopefully don't turn the ball over as much as they did in the past. Because that really hurt them. I mean, when you're a defensive team that likes to run the ball, you cannot turn the ball over that many times because you're not going to outscore anybody with your offense. Your offense is one of the worst in the league. Your quarterback can, when Blake Bortles is in there, he turned the ball over too much. When, what's his name? He was out of USC. Quarterback out of USC. I can't remember his name right now. Man. You guys know what I'm talking about. He was when he came in, he was like game manager a little bit below that. He wasn't really going to give you anything special. At least Blake Bortles could do some off-script things, but he just made stupid decisions. So you can't have that if you're relying on your defense to win games. And the least Nick Foles is going to do is come in and be a smart player and not put the Jaguars in bad places. My thing is when I look at the AFC South, when I look at the Texans, the Colts, and the Titans, I feel like they have better all-around rosters than the Jaguars do, in my opinion. I feel like the Titans edge them a little bit because their secondary, not that the Jaguars' defense is great, but I feel like the Titans' defense is actually really good. It's underratedly good, and I feel like their offense has more talent on it than the Jaguars do. Derrick Henry is he has a chance to be one of the best running backs in the league and the best running back in the AFC. In my opinion. He's very one-dimensional, so that'll probably keep him from doing that, but in terms of just running downhill, I think he's like the next beast mode. Their offensive line is really good if they can stay healthy. I feel it's really solid. I shouldn't say really good, but it's really, really solid. Get Chick Coughlin hopefully coming back and he'll be healthy. Marcus Mariota, I feel like gets a bad rap a lot of the time. And Corey Davis, Delaney Walker, what's his name? Jonnu Smith, the tight end. I like him a lot. And obviously I feel like they have a good coach at Mike Vrabel. I just feel like that team as a whole I like a little bit better than the Jaguars. Not that the Jaguars couldn't win the division, because they could. I feel like any team in this division can. So I like the Titans a little bit more than I do the Jaguars. I just feel like they got Jarrell Casey. They got Harold Landry. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I think he's going to give them a lot off the edge. I just like that defense. Their secondary with Kevin Byard, and they got Malcolm Butler. I think they still have Logan Ryan down there. They have Adoree Jackson. They have a really good defense. So I like that defense a lot. And how is that related to? I don't mean to go off a tangent there, but just a little thing to add to the Jaguars signing Marcus Smith. The NFL suspends Buccaneers cornerback Ryan Smith. The Buccaneers cornerback Ryan Smith has been suspended without pay for the first 4 games of the 2019 regular season for violating this comes from Pro Football Rumors, by the way, this news story, for violating the NFL policy on performance-enhancing substances. Smith will be eligible to participate in the offseason and preseason games, but will not begin regular season action until September 30th following the team's Week 4 game against the Rams. The 2016 fourth-round pick has started 16 games over the last 2 seasons, but was on shaky ground even before the suspension after taking corners in the second and third round of this year's draft. The Buccaneers could be poised to move on for him and allocate his slated salaries elsewhere. I don't feel like this is a big news story. I feel like the Buccaneers' defense is going to be a lot better this upcoming season. Their secondary was a mess. I feel like they didn't get a consistent enough pass rush. The run defense wasn't all that great. Their defense just wasn't that good. And not to mention, their offense was one of the best in the league, statistically. And they still couldn't win any games because they turned the ball over too much. I feel like they should have stuck with Ryan. I'm not a Jameis Winston fan at all. I'm sorry if you're a Buccaneers fan. I just do not like Jameis Winston. I don't think he's a good quarterback. But I do think you guys have one of the best coaching staffs in the league. I like Todd Bowles a lot. Bruce Arians is one of my favorite coaches of all time. He's a great head coach. He stretches all the way back to Peyton. I mean, look at what he's done in his career. He helped grow Peyton Manning. He helped grow Big Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, those are the two pillars of the NFL for the last 20 years, for God's sakes. Bruce Arians is a magician. He coached with Bear Bryant in Alabama. I mean, he's a tremendous head coach. So I like Bruce Arians a lot. He's a great head coach. He took the Cardinals to the best season they really ever had. He built a great team. They went to the NFC Championship. Obviously got blown up by the Panthers. Anyway, point is I really like Bruce Arians a lot. So maybe he can fix Jameis Winston. But that defense, I feel like, I don't think this whole Ryan Smith thing is going to affect them all that much. Todd Bowles is a wizard. His defense does require you to be in a lot of I'm on an island situations, and that doesn't just go for the first corner. So I would be concerned if I'm a Buccaneers fan because of that. He does a lot of zero-man blitzing, which really, you have to really put a lot of pressure on your corners to cover downfield. And I'm a huge Dolphins fan. The one thing we took advantage of is our speed on our offense with Kenny Stills, Jakeem Grant, and Albert Wilson, and all those. We have a lot of fast players on our offense. One thing we took advantage of is when they do send pressure, we always go deep. And they could never hang with our speed as cover corners. And that's one of the reasons they lost a lot to us with Todd Bowles. But it was one of the bigger reasons. So I am concerned about that because if you look at the division, I mean, they're stacked. You got Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, DJ Moore, who's coming up as a player. There's a lot of and Calvin Ridley, too, on the Falcons as well. Like, there's a lot of weapons. Not to mention people coming out of the backfield with Christian McCaffrey, Devontae Freeman, Alvin Kamara, to counter some of those pressures. So the defense does require you to have people who can cover downfield. So I'm a little concerned about that. But Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. He's not going to push the team too far to what they can't do. But if he eventually can build this defense, Todd Bowles' scheme is one of the best in the National Football League, in my opinion. He's a great coach. If you don't have great pass rushers, he can still get you pressure on a consistent basis. He makes the team better with this scheme, in my opinion. So, if I'm a Buccaneers fan, I'm not super worried about this news. Just to go back to the Raiders story, because I completely forgot, Tyrell Williams, Seth Roberts, they also have in-house there, and I like those players a lot. I feel like Seth Roberts is a very underrated player. I like him a lot. He's one of those fan-favorite type of players. He's not a superstar, but he makes plays for your franchise when you need him the most, and he's a really good player who works the middle of the field. So I forgot to mention those two players as well. And Tyrell Williams is a deep threat, not to mention Antonio Brown. That's a pretty good receiver core. And their offensive line should be better. They got Colton Miller. Hopefully I'm not forgetting his name. I just got his name mixed up with someone else. The tackle they drafted out of UCLA, if I'm not mistaken. And then they have, obviously, Trent Brown, who they're hoping can replicate what he did in New England. Anyway, moving on. And all these news stories, by the way, in case I forgot to mention, are from Pro Football Rumors so far. This next news story also comes from Pro Football Rumors. 49ers Robbie Gould mulling holdout. When the 49ers convene for training camp later this month, kicker Robbie Gould might not be on hand. Gould continues to push for a trade and offered no assurance that he'll join his teammates if he doesn't get his way in the next couple of weeks. He said, quote, I think this is from Robbie Gould. Yeah, this is a quote from Robbie Gould. He said, quote, I'm not going to commit to making any decision right now, said Gould while at a celebrity golf tournament in Nevada. Let's see here. The kicker pushed for a return to the Bears. The 49ers, however, did not blink and subsequently hit him with the $5 million franchise tender. Gould continues to say that he will not sign the tender, with the implication being that he will not be a happy camper in San Francisco unless he is given a lucrative multi-year deal. He said, quote, I don't really have a plan right now. Obviously, this is a deadline, and I don't have to make any decisions anytime soon. The deadline to sign a long-term contract is Monday, and the rest of that potential holdout is up to me. To be honest with you guys, obviously the kicking position can, if you're a contender, make or break your season, especially in the playoffs. And I think he obviously had a good year last year, too. But he's had his ups and downs as well. Robbie has been known, the reason he's not on a Chicago Bear anymore is because some of the poor seasons that he has turned in is the reason he isn't a Chicago Bear anymore. So, I feel like if you do, I mean, he's playing for $5 million. He's a kicker. I mean, it's not that you're not getting injured, hopefully, but your chances of getting injured is way lower than every other position on the field. You're getting $5 million to kick for the San Francisco 49ers. You're an older player. You've been in the league a long time. Before you got to San Francisco, when you were let go by Chicago, you did not have the greatest recent success that you currently have in San Francisco. I get that I mean, I don't know. I just feel like if you're Robbie Gould, then why the heck? What's the problem? I don't know. But if you're the 49ers, obviously you want to keep him. He's a good player. He had a good year last year. And kickers are hard to come by. Unless you have a great special teams coach, and as a Dolphins fan, I have experienced that. Darren Rizzi, one of the best special teams coaches. We've went through a lot of kickers over the years, and he's gotten them ready each and every single season. I mean, Andrew Franks kicked a 55-yarder in Buffalo in December to send us to the playoffs in 2016. And I don't think Andrew Franks is in the league anymore. So unless you have that, you're not. I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, we saw with what happened to San Diego, or LA now, the Los Angeles Chargers. A kicker for the last 3 years has really ruined some of their seasons. So it's an important thing that you definitely want to lock down. But if I don't really have a strong opinion on this. The 49ers have a good football team. They have one of the better D-lines in the league. Their secondary isn't half bad. You got Sherman over there. Their offense is pretty solid. George Kittle probably one of the... Not probably, I shouldn't say probably. He's legit one of the best tight ends in the league. If not the best tight end in the league. Certainly the most athletic. They did a pretty good job of trying to surround Jimmy Garoppolo in the draft with some talent. And their defensive line is one of the more underrated ones. I mean, the Bosa draft pick, the Nick Bosa pick, people forget. I mean, they have Solomon Thomas, who they just picked, I think, in the top 5. They have DeForest Buckner, one of the most underrated players in the league. Like, he could be Aaron Donald level good if he can stay. Not like, I shouldn't say Aaron Donald level good, but he's up there in terms of, like, special players. So, that team is definitely something to keep your eye on, because it's a good football team. I like Kyle Shanahan. He's a good coach. He's a really good coach. So we'll see what happens. This whole Robbie Gould situation, though, I mean, whatever. It's not whatever, but I don't think this... I mean, unless, they can't find another kicker, which is, happens from time to time. But I don't see Robbie Gould leaving San Francisco. This next news story, Texans. This also comes from Pro Football Rumors. Texans won't hire GM for 2019. For now, the Texans GM job will remain vacant, as Adam Schefter of ESPN.com tweets. Rather than hiring a GM for 2019, the Texans will divvy up responsibilities among multiple people. That's really interesting. Again, this news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. I mean, the whole thing with the New England thing and all this other stuff. What's his name? I can't remember the Patriots executive that they wanted, but it's a whole. I don't think they'll obviously be fine. They have a good roster that they've put together. I feel like they did a terrible job in the draft, though. I mean, the draft they had 2 years ago, I feel like it was better than the one that they had this year, and they didn't have that many picks 2 years ago. But I felt like if they moved around the board a little bit better. Now, I don't know their pick situation right off the top of my head, so maybe I'm overstepping my bounds here. But somebody can correct me down in the comment section below. I don't know what their pick situation was in terms of how many picks they had, but I feel like they could have moved up and down the board a little bit better, because there were some good tackles out there that they need. They need offensive linemen. Deshaun Watson had one of the worst last year, and he's had it his entire career. So, I don't know. I feel like they could have done a better job in that department. But we'll see what happens with this whole GM situation. But I feel like they're okay now. But, I mean, listen, they're going against some really good D-lines in their division. The only reason I have them, if I were to look at the AFC South, I have them pretty high, is because of Deshaun Watson and Bill O'Brien. And I feel like their skill positions are pretty good. Their defensive line is outstanding. And we know that Deshaun Watson's a great, great quarterback on a consistent basis. We really don't know that about Nick Foles, and I feel like he's a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. And you could make an argument that he's better than Andrew Luck. I don't believe that, but I feel like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So we'll see what happens with that team. But that is something to keep an eye on with their offensive line now. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Jimmy Garoppolo expects to be ready for training camp. Jimmy Garoppolo's 2018 campaign ended prematurely when he suffered a torn ACL in Week 3, but the 49ers quarterback expects to be fully ready for training camp, according to Sharon Williams of Pro Football Talk. Garoppolo's quote said, "I really do. The rehab process has gone really well. Knock on wood. We haven't had any," this is from Jimmy Garoppolo. "Any setbacks, OTAs went about as well as I could have hoped. For now and for training camp, hopefully we'll be full go with team drills and all that stuff. We're moving forward in the right direction. We've just got to keep going day by day and keep slacking them together. It's a long process, but we've come this far, so why stop now?" Jimmy Garoppolo is 27, which is crazy. Garoppolo posted an undefeated record in 5 starts after the 49ers acquired him for the Patriots in 2017. In 2018, he started 3 games, completing 59% of his passes for 718 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a dismal 26.9 total QBR. I really like Jimmy G. I feel like he's a little, and I really like Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a little overrated. He's a little overrated just because I feel like people put him in like the top 10 already, quarterbacks in the league. And 10 sounds like a lot until you go down the list of quarterbacks. Trust me, I've fallen into that pit many times. But then when you start naming quarterbacks, you're like, man, this is a really exclusive club. Like the 10 quarterbacks should be like literally in terms of how hard it is to get in that 10 are like the 3 best quarterbacks in the league. So I feel like Jimmy G, his play has not really. I mean, he has made some amazing, and I feel like some of the things that people forget is his team isn't very good. When he was there, they didn't have a number 1 receiver on the team. Their number 1 receiver is George Kittle. They had a steady diet of Breida in the backfield, who's actually underrated. He's a pretty good player at the time when he was there. But he definitely didn't have the cast around him. But I really do like Jimmy Garoppolo. I definitely think he can be a top 10 quarterback. He just has to play a full year. He's a gunslinger. If you look at his interception, even when he had the undefeated season, when he won all 5 of his starts coming off the trade from New England, his picks were pretty high. I can't remember what it was, but his interception to touchdown ratio isn't as good as you remember, just because he didn't have the greatest players on. I think at that time his best receiver was probably Pierre Garçon. But I like the team. I feel like Kyle Shanahan's scheme can go a long way. They did a good job in the draft of getting him some weapons. Hopefully, those weapons can blossom into something. I think Jerick McKinnon is coming back off an injury. That's a huge boost to their offense. Allows for a lot more versatility. So I like their scheme. I like their defense. I feel like they have a good team that can win some games this upcoming season. And that could put Jimmy G pretty high in the quarterback rankings. He reminds me a lot of Tony Romo, too. He really does. He reminds me a lot of Tony Romo. I like that 49ers team. I just feel like their division is tough, man. The Seahawks and Rams are legit. Even though the Rams got a lot worse, I feel like the Seahawks I still feel like are a very, very good team. Hopefully we get some of that 49ers-Seahawks rivalry back that we had from 2011 through 2014, 2015, somewhere around in there. That was one of the best rivalries in my opinion ever. Those rivalries were awesome. Pete Carroll, Harbaugh, they hated each other. The team legit hated each other. When's the last time we had an in-division rivalry that was that? And plus, both teams were great. They had the same mindset, too. They were great defensive teams, don't try to do too much. Both quarterbacks were mobile, can make plays off script. I really do miss that rivalry. That rivalry was awesome. Moving on from that, I think that's it for, all the major news stories. Yeah, so let's get into the last 2 news stories, which aren't as major. I just thought they were pretty cool. This first news story comes from CBS Sports. Ex-Patriot star making a deep run at 2019 World Series of Poker has already outlasted more than 8,000 players. The former Patriot star Richard Seymour might be better at poker than he is at football. After winning the 3 Super Bowl rings in New England, Seymour is now on the verge of possibly adding another piece of coveted jewelry to his personal collection, a diamond bracelet, which will be given to the winner of the main event at the 2019 World Series. That's about as far as we're going into that, because I don't know anything about gambling. So, yeah, I just thought that was cool. Richard Seymour out here pulling a dang Ocean's 11, for God's sake. So, I couldn't think of a gambling movie. I know it doesn't matter. I was thinking of that one with Edward Norton, and I think it was Matt Damon. I can't remember. It was a good movie, though. Anyway, let's move on to NFL. This next news story comes from NFL.com. 2019 NFL triplets rankings. Saints, Chargers, Browns. Let's see where they rank. So this is the 32 best triplets in the National Football League. If you're not familiar with that, it just means you're basically your top 3 players. It's usually a quarterback, receiver, running back. So this is an interesting thing that I want to get into. Ranking dead last on the top 32 triplets ranking, according to NFL.com, are the Miami Dolphins. Quarterback Josh Rosen, running back Kenny Drake, pass catcher, I don't know why, I guess you could put a tight end there, Kenny Stills. Yeah, I could not disagree with this more. I feel like, first of all, Kenny Drake is one of the best running backs in the AFC. He had over 1,000 yards last year from scrimmage. He's one of the best two-way running backs in the league. So the fact that he's the 31st ranked running back is insane. The pass catching thing I feel like we're more of a unit, not necessarily and I'm a Dolphins fan, so this is why, in case you don't know, that's probably why I'm talking this way. But I feel like our offense is a lot better than people give it credit for. It's just the offensive line. We just don't know where the heck it's gonna be. We have one of the best tackles in the league in Laremy Tunsil, but the rest of it's kind of a question mark. But I feel like that's the only thing really standing in the way, and it's a big, big, big if, but it's the only one really standing in the way of success, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I disagree with that. I mean, in terms, I guess triplets is a different argument than offense, but the fact that Kenny Drake is ranked the 31st running back in the league is insane to me. Coming in at number 31 is the Washington Redskins, quarterback Dwayne Haskins. Running back Adrian Peterson, and pass catcher Jordan Reed. Yeah, I feel like I could agree with this a little bit. Their offensive line is pretty good, but it's really good. But the rest of the team is kind of, I feel like there's a lot of question marks on that team. But Jordan Reed, one of the best tight ends in the league, he just can never stay healthy. And Adrian Peterson had a rebound last year, and Dwayne Haskins we really don't know yet. So it's gonna be interesting to watch the Redskins. They have a really good defense. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. But I really don't have I'm sure if you're a Redskins fan, you can give me a very intelligent argument on why they shouldn't be 31. Because, they had Darius Geis coming back. I like Darius Geis. They still have Chris Thompson in the back. They have weapons on that offense. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with them. This next, coming in at number 30 of the top 32 triplets in the National Football League, is the Buffalo Bills. Quarterback Josh Allen, who ranks 29th in the quarterback rankings according to NFL.com. LaShawn McCoy, who's the 22nd ranked running back according to NFL.com. And Zay Jones is their best pass catcher. And he's ranked 29th. Yeah, they should be a lot lower. They should be way lower than the Redskins, in my opinion. Maybe you can make an argument that their quarterback is better. The running back situation, I don't think, is that much better. Because they had, Chris, you could put Darius Geis. And I know he hasn't played any, but Shady is not what he used to be, and especially Zay Jones. Jordan Reed is so much better than Zay Jones. I feel like the Redskins definitely should be over the Bills. This next, coming in at number 20, this I think should be lower too. Coming in at number 29 is the Denver Broncos. Joe Flacco is the quarterback. Phillip Lindsay, who I like a lot, is he's their best running back. So this is a triplet. And their best pass catcher is Cortland Sutton, 24. I think Cortland Sutton, and correct me if I'm wrong, had 600 receiving yards last year. Granted, he was a rookie, and he did show big play potential, but this should be lower, in my opinion, a lot lower. I don't think you can make an argument that I mean, I can make an argument that Adrian Peterson is, I mean, maybe not a better running back than Philip Lindsay, but it's close. And Jordan Reed is way better than Courtland Sutton. And Dwayne Haskins versus Joe Flacco, I don't feel like there's a lot of people in the United States that wouldn't take Dwayne Haskins over Joe Flacco. Even though Dwayne Haskins hasn't played, I don't think a lot of people have that much confidence in Joe Flacco. So I feel like they should be a little bit lower. I would put the Redskins over them. This next, coming in at number 28, is the New York Giants, which is very interesting. The best triplets in the league. Their best quarterback is Eli Manning, obviously. The running back is Saquon Barkley. And their best pass catcher is Sterling Shepard. Now, the reason I would probably put them a little bit higher than other teams is literally just because of Saquon. And I feel like Sterling Shepard, he's a very good 2, but he's not a number 1. And I feel like Jordan Reed would be better. But obviously Eli Manning is kind of bogs this triplets down. The only argument that I could see being made for them being 28 and being over the Redskins and the Broncos and the Bills is the fact that they have Saquon Barkley. But if they didn't, they would be dead last, in my opinion. So I really don't know what you would do with the Giants, to be honest with you. This next, coming in at number 27, is the San Francisco 49ers. Their best quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously. Best running back, Tevin Coleman. I forgot about Tevin Coleman, man. I forgot that they signed him. They have a good backfield. And their best pass catcher is George Kittle. That's a really good triplet. Tevin Coleman, I feel like he's a super underrated player. He has a chance to be one of the best running backs in the NFC. He really does. And George Kittle is one of the best tight ends in the league. So I have no problem with them being that. I think they should be a little bit higher than that. Coming in at number 26 is the Baltimore Ravens in the best triplets list, according to NFL.com. Quarterback Lamar Jackson. Obviously, is their best quarterback. Best running back, Mark Ingram. Best pass catcher, Marquise Brown. This should probably be a little bit lower. I would definitely put the 49ers over them. George Kittle is legit 2 or 3 on the best of his position list. There's no one on the Ravens that is that good. Mark Ingram is not one of the three best running backs in the league. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is not one of the best 3 quarterbacks in the league. And Marquise Brown hasn't played it down in the league yet. So I feel like they should be lower than the 49ers for sure. This next one is coming in at number 25 is the Tennessee Titans. Their best quarterback is Marcus Mariota. Best running back, Derrick Henry. And their pass catcher is Corey Davis. Again, if I was looking at this, I'd put the 49ers over the Titans. Jimmy G's a way better quarterback. Tevin Coleman, legit, I would rather have Tevin Coleman than Derrick Henry. I don't think Tevin's a better runner, but he's way better in terms of versatility. I feel like he's going to carve the NFL up in that offense. In terms of pass catching, George Kittle is a way better receiving threat than Corey Davis. So I would put the 49ers over the Titans as well. Coming in at number 24 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their quarterback is Nick Foles. The running back is Leonard Fournette. And their pass catcher is Marquise Lee. This is another team that I think I would put the 49ers over in terms of the rankings. I feel like Jimmy G he's close in terms of talent level as a quarterback, if not better. Running back, Tevin Coleman, I would rather have than Leonard Fournette. I feel like Tevin... And I don't know if... I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but if you have ever watched Tevin Coleman, you'll know how special he is. He's a very special player, and he's super versatile, so that's why I would take him over Leonard Fournette. And pass catcher, yeah, George Kittle is way better than Marquise Lee and anything else. Again, he's one of the best, if not... he's probably the best receiving tight end other than Travis Kelce. And Zach Ertz, it's kind of back and forth, but he's just a better athlete than Zach is. He can take the ball 80 yards for a touchdown at the tight end position, which is really, really special. So yeah, I think I would put them over the 49ers or the Jaguars too. The next team coming in at number 23 is the Chicago Bears. The Bears. Their best quarterback is Mitchell Trubisky, obviously. I shouldn't say the best quarterback. It sounds weird. Their quarterback is Mitchell Trubisky. Their running back is David Montgomery, which is a weird one. And their pass catcher is Allen Robinson. I would put Tariq Cohen as their running back. It's very odd. And their pass catcher is Allen Robinson. This is the one that I would have a hard time putting. The 49ers one, I could see you putting the 49ers over this one too. I feel like the 49ers are way too low. Just because if you're going off the 3 versus their 3 and not the entire offense, Jimmy G is a better quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky, even though we have only had a very small sample size of that. Tevin Coleman is a better running back than David Montgomery, and George Kittle is a better receiving threat than Allen Robinson. So I would put the 49ers over them as well. Coming in number 22 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their quarterback is Jameis Winston. Their running back is Peyton Barber, who's very underrated, by the way. And their pass catcher is Mike Evans. I wouldn't put the 49ers. I mean, Jimmy G's a better quarterback. Peyton Barber, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Tevin Coleman's a better running back. Receiving threat, Mike Evans versus George Kittle. I'm probably going to give the nod to Mike Evans, but that still is 2 versus 1. I'd put the 49ers over them, too. This is the worst one so far. Coming in at number 21 is the New York Jets, which blows my mind that they're this high. Quarterback Sam Darnold, running back Le'Veon Bell, and pass catcher Robbie Anderson. Now, okay, let's just do the 49ers. I know I'm doing the 49ers a lot, but I feel like they're underrated. If we just do the 49ers versus this, quarterback-wise, Jimmy G beat Sam Darnold. Running back-wise, Le'Veon Bell does beat Tevin Coleman, but George Kittle destroys Robbie Anderson. That's again 2 versus 1. The 49ers take that, and I feel like they're better triplets. Now, I don't know. I mean, I still feel like even the 3 playing together are better. I don't understand why this is this high. Robbie Anderson is literally a one-dimensional player. I don't, and I'm a Dolphins fan. I've watched Robbie Anderson every snap, more than the public has, for God's sake. So. This I completely disagree with. I would put a lot of teams over them. I would put the Buccaneers over them. Maybe not the Buccaneers. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to the Titan. I mean that's the only one that they have on their triplet is Bell, who hasn't even played. He didn't even play last year. So I don't know. That they should be way lower. Coming in at number 20 is the Arizona Cardinals. Quarterback Kyler Murray, running back David Johnson, and Larry Fitzgerald. Are their triplets. Okay, this one's too high too. Let's just try to break this down. If I were let's say the 49ers again as an example. Jimmy G beats Kyler Murray. Kyler has not played yet. I'm just saying the man has not played in the NFL yet. We don't know. Jimmy G has, even though it has been a small sample size. Jimmy G's a very good quarterback. Running back David Johnson. I love David Johnson. He almost won 1,000 and 1,000. 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards. He almost did it. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He just had, man. Am I gonna blame that on I'm gonna blame that on what all happened in Arizona. And then Larry Fitz. I think George Kittle at this point in his career is a better player than Larry Fitzgerald. So I think again it's a 2 versus 1 that goes to the 49ers. I don't understand why the Cardinals. I guess it's just the hype of Kyler Murray. The next one, coming in at number 19, is the Detroit Lions. Their triplets are Matthew Stafford, Kerryon Johnson, and Kenny Galladay. This one, this is where it probably should be. I love Kerryon Johnson. He tore up my Dolphins. Kenny Galladay is a very good underrated receiver. He legit has a chance to be a number 1 in this league. And Stafford is one of my favorite players in the league. So, yeah, I agree with this. I mean, if you were... Okay, I don't mean to do this again, but if we were comparing it to the 49ers, Stafford versus Jimmy G, I think, is a wash. Running back, Tevin Coleman versus Kerryon Johnson, I'm giving the edge to... Man... I can't really say, because I could go either way on that one. In terms of receiving threat, George Kittle beats Kenny Galladay. Again... This list is hard to make, I understand, but I feel like some of these guys are a little bit too high. Coming in at number 18 is the Cincinnati Bengals. Their triplets are Andy Dalton, Joe Mixon, and A.J. Green. That's one heck of a triplet. That's one heck of a 3, and that would not beat the 49ers. I feel like Joe Mixon's a better running back than Tevin Coleman, and I feel like A.J. Green's a better player than George Kittle. So Jimmy G is a better quarterback, though, so that's 2 for 1. The next, coming in at number 17, is the Houston Texans. This is pretty low. Deshaun Watson is obviously. It's Deshaun Watson, Lamar Miller, and DeAndre Hopkins. The fact that, man, that is low. I guess because Lamar Miller brings them down, but I feel like, I don't know. That's interesting. I guess it is how they play as a group. But yeah, that's low, man. Number 16 is the Vikings. Dude, that's low. 16 is the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and Stephon Diggs. If you're gonna do this whole nonsense about triplets, and I guess if you're making the rules that the running back, there has to be one at each position, and this literally comes from the Cowboys, I guess, with Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin. But they're three. I guess it's not their three best offensive players, though. Man, that's still one heck of a three, dude. There better be. I mean, that's tough, man. I think I would put them close to the top 10. Coming in at number 15 is the Philadelphia Eagles. This is another one that I would have fairly high. Like Carson Wentz, Jordan Howard, and yeah, Zach Ertz. That one needs to be higher. And Zach Ertz, oh man. Like I think Zach's probably the second best tight end in the league. Man, that's a pretty good three, though. Coming in at number 14 is the Carolina Panthers. Quarterback Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, and DJ Moore. Man, yeah. I mean, if I had to, let's just say I had to compare him to the Eagles. I think a lot of people would take Carson Wentz over Cam Newton. I'm not one of those people, and I know that's probably a little bit controversial. That's just my opinion, but Jordan Howard and I'd take Christian McCaffrey. I would take Zach Ertz over the DJ Moore, though. So yeah, I guess I agree with the placement right there. Coming in number 13 is the Oakland Raiders. They have Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, and Antonio Brown. I would put Carolina and the Eagles over the Raiders, just because I feel like Cam Newton and Carson are a better quarterback than Derek Carr is. Their running back situation is better than Josh Jacobs because Josh hasn't played any football. And AB, though, is better than any receiving option those two teams have. But I would put the Panthers and Eagles over them. Coming in number 12 is the Dallas Cowboys. Quarterback Dak Prescott, running back Ezekiel Elliott, and pass catcher Amari Cooper. Yeah, that's one heck of a three, dude. That should probably be a little bit higher, I would imagine. But we'll see when it kind of comes down here. Coming in at number 11 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have Big Ben, James Conner, and Juju Smith-Schuster. If I'm comparing them to the Cowboys, I'm going to say Big Ben's a better quarterback than Dak. So the Steelers get a point there. Ezekiel Elliott is a way better running back than James Conner. And pass catcher, Cooper versus Schuster. God dang. I'm going to go with Juju because he's more consistent. So I guess I agree with that. Yeah. That's a tough one, man. Wow. Coming in at number 10 is the Seattle Seahawks. That's way too high. Quarterback Russell Wilson. Chris Carson is the running back. And pass catcher is Tyler Lockett. First of all, Russell Wilson is my favorite player in the NFL. Like, he's my favorite player to watch in the National Football League. So, I say this I'm not just saying this to say this. Running back Chris Carson, which I watched a lot of last year, they did have the number one running attack in the league. They did have a deep bench of running backs. And pass catcher Tyler Lockett. If I'm comparing this to the Steelers, I would give Russell Wilson the edge over Big Ben. I would give James Conner over the edge over Chris Carson. So, and then I would probably... I would give Juju Smith... Yeah, so I would put the Steelers over the Seahawks, and I would put the Cowboys over the Seahawks. That's way too high, in my opinion. Number 9 is the Indianapolis Colts. They have Andrew Luck, Marlon Mack, and T.Y. Hilton. I would put the Steelers and Cowboys over them. I mean, I think Andrew Luck's probably a better quarterback than Dak. I don't know if Big Ben, that's tough. I would say he's a better quarterback than Big Ben. But Marlon Mack is not better than James Conner and Zeke. And T.Y. Hilton, I think he would probably be better than Cooper just because he's more consistent. But if I was drafting players, I would pick Cooper over T.Y. Hilton. And running back, man, that's tough, though. I still feel I would give the Steelers and Cowboys the edge on that one. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is taking backseat to many people. Not many people is he taking the backseat to. Number 8 is the Los Angeles Rams. They have quarterback Jared Goff, running back Todd Gurley, and Brandon Cooks as their triplets. Man, I would take. Oh man, I would take the Cowboys and Steelers over them. I don't think Todd Gurley is a better running back than James Conner, but I would take Big Ben over Jared Goff, and I would take Juju Smith-Schuster over Brandon Cooks. I would take Amari Cooper over Brandon Cooks, and I would take Ezekiel Elliott over Todd Gurley. That's just me, though. And I would definitely take Dak over Goff. Number 7 is the New England Patriots. They have Tom Brady, Sony Michel, and Edelman. That's a pretty dang tough top 3. I don't have any problems with that. I mean, if I had to poke holes in this, I don't think necessarily they're better than the Steelers and Cowboys, just because I feel like Zeke is a better running back and Cooper is a better receiver, and so is who am I thinking? Oh yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster. I would definitely put the Steelers over them. The Cowboys I would have a harder time doing, but the Steelers I'm definitely putting over them. Number 6 is the Atlanta Falcons. Quarterback Matt Ryan, running back Devontae Freeman, and receiver Julio Jones. That's really hard to argue with. So I like that a lot. Number 5 is Kansas City. They have quarterback Pat Mahomes, running back Damian Williams, and pass catcher Travis Kelce. That's really hard to argue with. So I don't disagree with that. I think this whole top 5 is going to be butter. Number 4 is Green Bay. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers, running back Aaron Jones, wide receiver Devontae Adams. Man, let's say I was comparing it to Kansas City. I would take Pat Mahomes right now over Aaron. Oh, that's hard to say that. I wouldn't do that, actually. Running back, Aaron Jones versus Damian Williams. I'm taking Aaron Jones. Devontae Adams versus Travis Kelce. I'm taking Travis Kelce. I feel like if I were to compare the Packers to some other guys that were before, maybe I would put them over. Like the Steelers, I probably would put the Steelers over this 3 because I like Juju better than Devontae. I love Devontae, though. And James Conner versus Aaron Jones, I'm taking James Conner. And then you look at the Cowboys, I'm taking Zeke, and I'm taking, maybe I wouldn't take Cooper over Adams, though. That's probably where I would draw the line. Coming in at number 3 is the Cleveland Brownies. They have quarterback Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, and Odell Beckham. Odell! I love Odell Beckham. He gets a bad rap. He's a great player. But the personality thing I don't care about. I feel like that's fine. I don't understand why people would care about that. There's like 50 NBA players that act like Odell and they don't get in trouble for it. Let's see here. I don't know. Let's look at the top 2, and then I think I would probably. I mean, that's hard not to put number 1. The Chargers, Phillip Rivers. Coming in at number 2 is the Los Angeles Chargers. Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, and Keenan. Yeah, no, the Browns are going over them. I would take Odell over Keenan. Man, maybe they're not going over them. Melvin over Nick. Yeah, I would take Melvin over Nick because he's more versatile. And then Baker over Phillip. I would take Baker over Phillip, but I still feel like the Chargers is probably a better top 3. The number 1 triplets in the National Football League is the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas. I would take because you have to take all 3 of them into account here. I would take Aaron over Drew. I wouldn't take anybody on here over Alvin. Receiving wise, Michael Thomas. There's a couple people I would take. I would take Odell. I would take Devontae over. I would take Travis over. I would definitely take Julio over Michael Thomas. I would take Edelman over Michael Thomas. Maybe not Amari Cooper, but I definitely would take Juju over Michael. I don't know. I would have to go through the list again. That's an okay list. It's not a great list. I feel like you could definitely. There are some teams like the Seahawks that should not be. Like the Seahawks are not a top 10 triplets in the league. I would take the Cowboys and Steelers over them any day of the week. That's a tough one though, man. That's a tough list to make. But I don't know. I kind of agree with some of the things on that list, but a lot of them I don't. I don't think the Cardinals should be as high as they are. The 49ers should be way higher. Yeah, there's a couple things that I would drastically move, but all in all, that's a pretty good list. It's okay list. So that's it for this episode of the NFL podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like that, then go check out the channel. We upload this obviously each and every single Thursday morning. So if you like that, then check out the channel. This is the first episode. We used to do this back in the day, but I stopped doing it. I actually do another podcast on my channel. It's a Dolphins dedicated podcast. You don't have to listen to it. It only uploads once a week, so it's not gonna flood your little subscription box there. So you don't gotta worry about that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I am gonna do this consistently. I am not leaving this alone. I really do enjoy doing this. I'm a huge football fanatic. I love anything. I love anything to do with the NFL. I'm a huge history buff of the NFL as well. So hopefully we can do some stuff. Maybe I'll figure out something about the NFL history. Hopefully we can add in a fan Q&A soon where we answer fan questions, because I do that with my Dolphins podcast. That would be cool. So this has a lot of chance to grow. So if you guys did enjoy, your support is greatly appreciated, especially on a new show. And I will see you guys in the next one.